Hi, Sharks. It is Financial Sharktress Galitza Deek here for another Money Monday live. Um, Happy Money Monday. Today's topic, just making sure that we're live everywhere. Cool. Awesome. So, today's topic, we're going to talk about credit cards. Now, I feel like this is one of those topics that I could talk about a million times, and just because it is so important. I see so many clients and so many people spending so much money on credit card debt. Like it is a recurring theme because the exchange when you use a credit card to pay something, it doesn't feel the same as when you use cash. Right? When you use cash for something, you feel it leave, right? You see it leaving your wallet. There's an emotional component that occurs when cash is leaving your hands, right? There's this you can see it happen. When you use a credit card, you're swiping. You are not understanding the money that is coming out of your account. You are not really registering it. The emotional component is not the same. You don't get the same feeling. And some of the biggest mistakes that I see with people using credit is people using credit to buy things that they don't have money in the bank to cover. And what ends up happening is that's when you start to get into credit card debt. When you start to get into credit card debt, the interest rates on that debt are very high, right? A loan, your interest rate might be 7%, it might be 10%. I mean, I've seen loans 15%, but I've seen credit card interest rates at 30%, at 29%, at 24%. Like, the amount that of interest that's going to be added to your card each month that you don't pay it off is so high that it becomes so hard to get out of credit card debt. It's something that just snowballs, right? It like continues and continues, and $100 gets added in interest. I've seen thousands of dollars get added in interest in 1 month, and then it just keeps accumulating and accumulating and accumulating. And if you're just paying the minimums, you're barely making a dent. You're barely paying off the interest that's accumulated. And that's problematic. Another issue that I find a lot is people get approved for credit cards. They get approved for limits that they don't actually need. They get a high limit and then they spend to that limit. You do not have to spend to that limit. You should not spend to that limit because the higher that you're going to that limit, the less your credit score is going to be. So that's one of the factors in determining credit score. They want to see how much of your allowable limit on all forms of credit, right? So all of your credit cards, they take the total of that, all of your loans. They want to see how your lines of credit, they want to see what percentage of the credit that you have are you using. Now, the lower that is, the better, because they can see that you use credit responsibly. If you are using to the max each time, and especially if you've got rolling debt, you are a less dependable, a less reliable, more risky choice, right? So your credit score is going to be lower. So know your limit. Don't reach that limit. Make sure that when you charge things, you are able to pay them off. If not that month, then have a payoff plan that you stick to get rid of it as soon as you humanly can. Another thing that you can do is, there are cards that have 0% interest introductory periods. If you can get approved for one of these cards and then make sure that you make the big purchase on that card or transfer your existing credit balance to that card, and then you've got like a number of months, it could be 21 months that you're interest free, and you can set up a payoff plan for that month for those months and get yourself out of debt without accumulating more interest, because the revolving interest, the addition of interest every month, that's really, really, really where you get stuck. That's where the debt just starts to like go out of control. Another thing that you want to do is always pay on time. Even if you are just paying the minimum, I need you to pay it on time, because that is one of the biggest dings against you on your credit is if you've got many late payments, right? Not only that, but you're also going to accumulate late payment fees. So that's fees on top of interest on top of a million other things, and it's just not worth it. So what I tell people, if you're trying to get out of credit card debt, or you're trying to like pay off a big purchase, like I recently made a big purchase, I didn't even wait till my due date. I made an additional payment during the month, and you could do 2 payments a month that are smaller and really start to chip away at that debt, rather than only making 1 payment at the end of the month. Why not make it, if you've got it in your account and you want to just chip away at it and make sure that it's not accumulating more interest, pay an extra payment in the middle of the month, whatever you can. I want you to make sure that you don't pay things late. Set up reminders for yourself, or set up an automated payment. There's a particular credit card that I have that I know I pay it off every single month. I know exactly, like I budget for it. I make sure it's done. I don't have to, I also have it set up so that any charge over 1 penny on any of my credit cards, I get a text message immediately. And so I know exactly what is going on all of my credit cards, and I'm never surprised when I open up a statement and look at what I've charged. I know, because the second there's a charge, anything over a penny, which is everything, right? I get a text message. So that's something that you can set up on all of your credit cards, and it honestly saves me a lot of headache, because if there is fraud, I catch it immediately. I do not have to wait until a month later or 3 months later when I finally look at my statements, or however long it is. I know it right away. So I do that not only for my credit cards, I also do that for my checking accounts. Any amount taken out of any of my accounts over a penny and over, I should say, I get a text message. So that's a great way to make sure you know what's being charged on your cards at all time and you aren't the victim of fraud. Set up reminders for yourself to pay things. And you can also set it up, you can a lot of times change your due dates. So if you know you get paid on the 15th of the month or the 30th of the month or whatever it is, you can try to set up your payment dates so that it's around that time frame and you have the money in your checking account to pay it. I want you to, if you create a budget, and you should be creating a budget, and now is the time to create budget for the year. Like, it's the beginning of the year. Let's start you off right. Let's get you on track. The best way to do that is to have a budget. Make sure that your budget includes debt payoff, paying off your credit cards. Make sure that anything that you charge on your credit cards is included in your budget. Do not have your credit cards be some extra thing that you use on top of what you're spending in your budget. Make sure that you've got an emergency fund, or like I like to call it, a fuck you fund, right? That way, you will not have to rely on credit cards when something big happens, right? I will give you an example, and something you never want to happen. You get sick, you go to the hospital, you've got a copay, you haven't filled your deductible for the year, and so you end up having to pay your entire deductible in one shot. Insurance deductible, I'm saying. Your emergency fund can cover that. If you don't have an emergency fund, you're going to be relying on credit cards. If, God forbid, something happens to your pet and you've got vet bills, do not force yourself to rely on using credit cards when emergencies happen. Start the emergency fund today, and you can add that into your budget. Please, this is one of the things, this next thing is one of the things that is so important when it comes to credit cards. Know what your interest rate is on each of your cards and spend wisely. Knowing what your interest rate is so important. Understand where you fall on the spectrum, because it could be 16%, it could be 15.99%, it could be 25%, like 24.99%. And which, if you're gonna have an expense that you need to put on a credit card, it's way better for you to put it on a credit card with a lower interest rate than it is with a high interest rate. So understand the need to know your interest rates and to make sure that you're paying off the high interest rates, because they are the ones that are going to accumulate debt faster. Okay. Another thing is there's tons of credit card rewards, right? Like, why not take advantage of those kind of things? So there's cashback cards, there's cards that give you points for travel, there's cards, all different cards have different types of rewards that you can get by using them. I've gotten cheaper tickets to things. I use different other types of rewards. Like I use Costco to do my car rentals, because it gives me other types of rewards. I use to actually pay for my car rentals. I have a specific credit card because it gives me additional car insurance, so I don't have to pay for the rental car insurance. There are so many different rewards, and if you don't know about them, you're just not going to be taking advantage of them. The credit card is giving you that opportunity. Take it. Another thing, so even if you put the same kind of notifications on your credit, that it gives you a notification every time you spend over a penny, still look at your statements. It's important. Get to know your statements, understand, right? Because seeing it all at once, seeing it, where am I spending my money? Do I notice patterns, right? Am I spending a lot on fast food? Am I spending a lot on coffee purchases? Am I spending a lot on subscriptions that I don't even remember that I have? All of those types of things you'll see if you keep an eye on your credit card statements. And also, if you look at your credit card statements, you can report fraud soon. As soon as it happens, as soon as you see it, and then you're not out the money, right? You want to make sure that you catch fraud in a timely manner because that again can add to your credit card debt. If you're not seeing it, that is charges on your credit card that shouldn't be there. And that technically is accumulating interest, right? Because it's sitting as debt for you right now. It's not valid, but it's still debt. And so you have to make sure you let the credit card companies know immediately so that they can take it off and you don't accumulate additional debt due to fraudulent charges. Or you might miss them completely if you don't look at statements. And then you're just paying for somebody else's fraud. You're paying for somebody else's use of your credit. Another thing I want you to do is avoid cash advances if you can and if it is at all possible, because they come with high fees, they come with high interest rates. There are alternatives that you can look into. Really just try to stay away from cash advances if at all possible. I know that life happens. I know that you might need to. I know that especially if you don't have an emergency fund, like you might just need to pay rent and you might need to have a cash advance, but please try to do everything in your power to take another route because there are just so many fees and interest rates associated with that. Um, Another thing is don't just rely on credit cards, right? Especially if you have credit card debt, think about getting loans to pay it off because a mix of that will help you. It'll positively impact your credit score. Um, and also you won't be a loan will generally have a lower interest rate. And so being able to like consolidate your debt, get a lower interest rate, not have to deal with the high rates or the higher rates that credit cards entail, like is important. So really try to like diversify what you're using. That could be credit cards, lines of credit, and loans. Think about how you can use your credit score to your advantage. And that's my last thing is know your credit score. Regularly check your credit score. Regularly check your credit reports. You get one free credit report from each of the agencies per year. Use it. Take that. Check it out. See what's outstanding. That is also, I did this in my early 20s, and that is how I identified fraud that somebody was using my credit. And since then, I check it regularly. And there are also some of your credit cards will actually give you an updated credit score, and you can check it straight from your credit card's app or your credit card's website. So take advantage of all those avenues of knowing your credit score and seeing your credit report. Our credit score really is so important. It affects the interest rates that we get when we get credit cards. It affects the loans that we get, what interest rate we get with those loans, if we get the loan or not, if we get the credit card or not, how much they're willing to give us as a credit limit. All of these things, like your credit score can affect you getting a phone, getting a cell phone plan. It can affect you getting an apartment, rentals, getting a car, financing a car. It can affect you leasing a car. There there are jobs that it can affect your ability to get that job. So knowing what your credit score is, checking your credit score, and taking actions to increase your credit score is pivotal in having a healthy financial future. Because if you want to buy a house, if you want to have investment properties, if you want to up your life, if you want to get financially healthy, a healthy credit score is important. So that's what I want to talk to you about credit cards. If you've got questions, if you want to know specific things, please reach out to me. Um, and and just think about how you can start using credit responsibly. Because when you do use it responsibly, it can be such a tool for good in your financial situation, in your financial world, right? You don't have to carry around cash, but you need to make sure that you're using it responsibly. You're paying it off. You're not drowning in credit card debt. You are monitoring it, and you are monitoring your credit score and making sure that it continues to go up. So do those things, and you will have a much healthier financial situation and financial future, and you will have access to the tools that you need to continue to grow in your journey of financial healthiness and financial wealth, and prosperity and abundance. So that's it for today. And I will see you next week for another Money Monday. Please, if you need me, reach out to me. I'm here. I always do free 15-minute sessions. If you want to work with me, I'm available. In our free 15-minute discovery call, I will give you as much information as I humanly can in those 15 minutes. So I'm a resource. Don't let it go to waste. And I'll see you next week for another episode and another topic. And also, if you're following my podcast, my Galit Speaks podcast, we're starting again on Wednesday, and I have an awesome guest for you. So please tune in for that. Have an amazing Money Monday, and take care. Bye.